They just went and built a whole level. Just didn't put it in the game, but you can still just get into it. I don't know, this is a weird one. And then you have all the weapons. This is supposed to take place at some point during Highway 17. Probably after you get hit by the train, yeeted off the bridge. Because yeah, if that happens, then you get the little... It's not quite a death screen, it's like a whole black screen. And it's very different to like any other death screen. Like an optional, you probably could have ended up in this level. I see they've heard of me.
Here to take on the
Gordon
combine.
Fishman. I was worried we weren't going to have any fallen ox. I don't really remember this being finished. Like, I'm right at the point in the where I think that this slots in. Holy shit.
Destroy that gun and no dawdling.
I absolutely love how he said he would take this as far as he can, and then he went all of like 7 feet.
Destroy that.
That was good timing. Me harpoon! No! Oh shit. This thing is hard to aim. Okay, we got him. This is a bad spot to be using. Harpoon say, one has fallen to my death. Who is it? Oh, I love the magnet. Seems like there's is up the cliff. Thank you for dropping in uplink crayon UA. I'm just not good at reading off the things. Oh. Oh, son of a bitch. Didn't even do that from. What had to go this way anyway? I don't think there's any way I'm getting that harpoon off this cliff. Just gonna... I'm starting to think that there's no way that I'm going to make it off this cliff. Revolver is a million times better anyway. I love a themed weapon. Oh no, wait, they can come up the stairs if it hasn't been destroyed. I go down. And no, that son of a bitch, he did it again. They're coming from everywhere. place is just riddled with them. And then pick it up from this side. Okay, doing that. Oh, it's little fishies that are killing me. Not dying from being in the water. I can come. Yeah, we'll see. Didn't die. Didn't die. This is fine. I just... Where are they? Where are they? The corner, and it's all over for me. One. Oh, that... I was joking, but hey. Behind me, above me, in front of me, and below me. It's not worth it. The harpoon isn't worth it. The flashlight doesn't work in this. Get into the door somehow, but we don't have power to open that door. You just pull down this whole scaffolding? No. Open. Blow it off the hinges. The scaffolding? No, down the well. Yes, finger crushing machine. I'm gonna have to put my fingers in here, am I? Or... that'll do it. Or not. Just jam some things in. Go. There we go. Let all the head crabs out. I hear dropships and gunships. I really wish the eyes stopped glowing after you kill them, because I never know which ones are still alive. Tell me not one of these fellas had a pulse rifle on them. Helicopters like this. No. Jump on too. And then we just go for the chair. One goes down, another pops up. Pile up to get me back over. Destroy the gunship before it destroys everything else. Comes. Could use the gunship explosion to launch me over the wall. Whatever's supposed to be happening with this isn't happening. Or it's happening very slow. Oh. It's blown up. It didn't work the first time, and it didn't really work properly the second time either. Time. And we're on our way. Very conveniently set up. He got his harpoon back. Got getting the feast with him. Oh no, we're getting kicked back into the main game. And that's pretty much it. I don't know, maybe it's like part of the testing process. You can just like play this with the dev commentary on as well.
Hi, this is Gabe Newell, and welcome to the Lost Coast.
In this tour,
we're going to be talking about a new graphics technology we've been called High Dynamic Range, or HDR. We'll also be giving you some insight into the design and production challenges we faced during the construction of the Lost. First, a quick explanation of the To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your use. To stop the commentary, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press your use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game for the purpose of showing you. In these cases, simply pressing your use key will stop the commentary.
Alright, let's go.
With conventional rendering, seen here on the left, if something on the screen is 20%, then the maximum reflected brightness could only be of the maximum brightness of your monitor. HDR's more accurate simulation of light ensures that the sun's reflection on this wet sand appears as it would in the real world, which could potentially use 100% of the maximum monitor. HDR uses bloom to simulate light that is beyond 100% of a monitor's maximum brightness.
And that they've specifically pointed it out, and I can't help but admire the wet sand that they've beautifully crafted.
The process of building characters in Half-Life 2 taught us many things. By the end, we believed we'd figured out a more effective process for designing and constructing characters. This fisherman is the first character we built using that process. Design-wise, the fisherman was focused on showcasing HDR and the way light falls on human skin. The highlights on his forehead and nose are good examples of specularity on human skin. You can see how the wrinkles on his cheeks and around his eyes are an example of how we can use normal maps to add depth. Production-wise, the fisherman was built using a similar process to the rocks you saw on the beach. We model the 3D character at a very high detail, then extract much of the physical information and store it in the textures.
Go ahead.
Water presents us with a lot of rendering challenges. In fact, we have to render the scene 3 times. Once for the refraction of what's on water, once for the reflection of everything above the water, and once from the player's view. You can see the reflection and refraction scenes in the 2 small windows on screen. In the refraction, we calculate per pixel how much water you're looking through to do a volumetric underwater. For our full HDR solution, we had to go through the entire engine and modify every bit of code that calculated light color. For example, these water reflection and refraction renderings had to be improved.
When the art team started to think about a location that would demonstrate the power of HDR, a beach was one of the first choices we made. The visual relationship between the sky, the water, and the rocks is something we could not achieve without HDR. In order for high dynamic range to correctly simulate the light's interaction with the surfaces around you, like these wet rocks, we needed more precise information about the surfaces than we've had in the past. And now going forward, we're modeling textures in 3D packages to ensure that the physical information encoded in the texture allows HDR to correctly bounce light off the surface. We also designed the colors and values of each surface to ensure they will be correct across all exposure levels.
Left the harpoon completely unguarded.
The area you're currently in is called the Cliffside Arena. We were particularly happy with the vertical cliffside in Half-Life 1. Vertical space allows us to deal with threats from above and below. We find that players focus their view on the direction they're traveling,
And they don't attack
so by
me while the
using a
commentary is
cliffside
playing.
and having the player ascend it, we ensure that the player will look. If the player's path was to move past the bottom of the... and
They
dying
just
from
chill.
unknown threats never feels fair and certainly isn't fun.
One of the features of our HDR solution is dynamic tone mapping. The easiest way to think about dynamic tone mapping is that it's a method of simulating the way the human eye. In the real world, you've probably walked into a dark room and noticed your eye adjusting to the dark, letting you see better after some time. Or you've walked out into a bright day and been blinded by the sun, only to have your eye adjust and your iris is adjusting itself in response to the amount of light hitting your eye. Dynamic tone mapping simulates this by automatically adjusting the exposure. You can see this as the view moves from the dark tunnel to the bright. Here, you can see the way we calculate the amount of light hitting the player's eyes. We'd take a snapshot of the scene, measure the brightness levels, and then use that to adjust exposure. We consider light at the center of the screen more important than at the edges, to better simulate the geometry of
The courtyard in front of you. Arenas are built to hold the player for a period, usually contain combat or some other. They often have multiple entry points, along with a gate of some kind. In this case, the arena is free of enemies until the player solves a puzzle. This is a method that allows the player and get a sense of its space before being forced to fight in it. It adds a sense of uneasiness to the player, who's expecting to be attacked, now reached the goal set for them at the start. The break in the action here is also a crucial part of the level's.
The source engine supports a wide variety of shaders. The refraction shader on the window here requires us to copy the scene to a texture, refract it, and then apply it to the window surface. To fully support HDR, every shader in the engine needed. So this refraction shader was improved to support the full range of contrast. If you viewed the sun through this window, it would be refracted correctly.
We wanted to transition from a bright, wide-open space into a tighter, closed one to showcase HDR's dynamic tone mapping. We also like to focus on contrasting elements in our settings, like ancient human architecture and futuristic combine technology. A monastery fit these requirements perfectly. Monasteries are generally isolated, unlit, and built ages ago. They provide a great backdrop for the contrasting combine technology. When we build fictional settings, we try to ground them by basing them off a real-world location. We use this location as a design constraint that forces a logical consistency behind the art choices. Churches are great dramatic spaces. They're often lit naturally with extremes of darkness and brightness, which makes them a great showcase for HDR. Gothic churches are the sober monochromatic spaces that you've seen in almost every horror movie or game. Byzantine churches, on the other hand, are very colorful and have a large variety of materials. We wanted that color and material variety to show off our HDR reflections.
Our games are filled with which are essentially just we used a puzzle here, since when we design challenges, we try to ensure that the goal and the action required. It's not hard to create in the nearby village, but the action required. So instead of something menial, such as the player gets to use physics to jam the gun's mechanism and cause it to break.
Just wait until we're done as well. His last speech bubble.
This marks the end of the Lost Coast tour. This has been an
He's just
experiment
stuck
on our
there.
part to see if our community would find it interesting to learn more about our development process. As always, we're interested in your feedback.
There
I
he
can be
goes.
reached at Gaben, G-A-B-E-N, at valvesoftware.com. If people like
Got
this,
Gabe Newell's
keep producing
email.
this kind of content for all of our games going forward. Thanks for listening.
I guess we can swap back to